Hi, I'm Brittany, a neurodivergent mum and speech pathologist. This is Not Just Theories, where I share what actually works in my real, messy life. Because life doesn't follow a theory. Here's what I actually do. Hello, and welcome back to Not Just Theories. This episode will be the final one in the infant sleep series. I know it's been quite a long series, so if you're not interested in sleep, I really apologise. But we did try and cover a lot of ground in this series. So if you've been listening along, I'm hoping that you noticed something about the series, which is that it is not about finding the perfect schedule and definitely not about one magic strategy to fix your child's sleep. Instead, what I really wanted the message that runs through this series to be is that baby sleep is complex. And when we start to understand the complexity, it becomes much, much easier to replace guilt and self-blame with curiosity. So today I'm going to be doing just a little bit of a wrap up. So I'm going to sort of zoom out and bring everything together that we've talked about over the past 7 episodes. So I'm going to be doing that through 4 key lenses: biology, medical factors, environment and sensory needs, and temperament. So first, sleep is biological. We talked about things like circadian rhythms, the importance of consistent wake times and early morning light exposure. Different children having total sleep needs that are quite different across that whole 24-hour day, and how you can try and time the sleep in that 24 hours to work better for your family. We talked about how naps interact with night sleep and the role of sleep pressure building through the day. And these are all biological systems. They can be supported, but they cannot be forced. You can't make someone sleep if their body isn't tired. And that is really important, because so much infant sleep advice is built around the idea that if you just follow the right steps and the right schedule for your child's age, your baby will sleep. But biology doesn't work like that. Different babies have different sleep needs, and if we aim for sleep that doesn't match our child's biology, that's when we can end up with frequent night waking or split nights or long bedtime battles or early morning rising. Not because something is going wrong, but because the expectations don't match our specific child. The second lens are the medical and physical factors that can contribute to poor sleep. So we talked about things like ENT issues and breathing, reflux, iron levels, vitamin D, allergies, and gut discomfort. Because we know that if a baby is uncomfortable in their body, sleep is going to be difficult. And in some cases, addressing those underlying issues can make a much bigger difference than any sleep strategy. But it can be really hard to access support in that space. Lots of parents are told to wait and see, or try behavioural strategies first, even if their gut is telling them something else is going on. So part of that conversation is about trusting your instincts and advocating for your child when something doesn't feel right. The third lens is environment and sensory regulation. Some babies need movement and closeness and feeding for comfort. They need the right sounds and the right amount of physical contact, while others need the opposite. They need quiet and darkness and minimal stimulation. So understanding your baby's sensory preferences can completely change how you approach sleep for your child, because we need to match our strategies to their nervous system rather than our preferences. And once you do that, things can become much smoother. So that's where things like baby wearing or the appropriate use of white noise or rocking or pram naps or contact naps, they're not bad habits. They're regulation strategies that work for particular babies better than sleeping in a bassinet or a cot or a crib might be. The fourth lens, which is what we talked about last week, is temperament. So some children are what we call dandelion children. They're adaptable and flexible. They cope really well with change, and they often sleep relatively easily or respond quite well to very simple adjustments to routines or schedules. Whereas other children are more like orchids, or what we call little sparklers if you're part of the Beyond Sleep training project. They are more sensitive and more reactive. They're often much more aware. We called our little sparkler a FOMO baby because she definitely had fear of missing out. She did not want to be asleep because she was worried she would miss something that was happening while she was awake. So she just wanted to be awake all the time. She didn't want to miss anything. These children feel things often much more deeply, and this shows up in sleep. So often these are the babies that will wake more frequently. They'll need a lot more support to settle. They'll struggle more with change, and that means that they will fight traditional sort of sleep training methods much, much harder than a dandelion child would. And they can take longer to develop independent sleep. And what's really important about this is that this difference is not caused by parenting, and it's not something the child is choosing either. It's temperament. It is an innate part of your child being who they are. And once we understand that, a lot of other things start to make more sense. So when you put all of those lenses together, you can start to understand something that makes life hard for a lot of parents. Why does the same advice work really beautifully for one family and not at all for another? It's because the child's biology might be different, their sensory needs might be different, their medical profile might be different, or their temperament is different, or a combination of any of the above. So when you've tried something and it works, that's great. It's because it matched your particular child, not because it's a universally effective strategy. So I think that leads into something that really matters, because it's really about having compassion for other parents instead of trying to provide, this is the one magic solution, and if you just did this, then your sleep would be sorted. Because I think parents of good sleepers often think that it's because they're good parents. And I'm not saying that they're bad parents. All parents who love their children and are working hard to, provide a loving, healthy environment for their children are great parents. But your child's quality of sleep does not reflect how good of a parent you are. Your child's sleep simply reflects your child's sleep. And if you're parenting a baby who sleeps less, wakes more, needs more support, or just feels everything more intensely, you are doing more work, often significantly more, and that difference adds up over days, weeks, months, and years. A couple of extra hours of work every day for 4 years is a huge amount of work. And if you've ever felt like everything's harder for you than it seems to be for other people, there is a real chance that it actually is harder. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because your child has a different, more intense set of needs. And it's really important to support yourself and to get support for yourself, because when your sleep is disrupted, you are affected too. So we did talk a little bit about things like how to maximize the sleep you can get, sharing the load where possible, lowering expectations in other areas, and the importance of resting even if you can't sleep, because supporting your baby does mean supporting yourself. So if this series has resonated with you, the resource I recommend the most is the Beyond Sleep Training Project group on Facebook or through their website. They provide evidence-based information about infant sleep that recognizes all of those layers: biology and development and environment and individual differences. But probably more importantly, there's a community of parents who understand that sleep struggles are much more complex than they might first appear to be. And the most powerful thing for a lot of parents is just realizing that you're not the only one experiencing this. Even if you don't know anyone in real life experiencing the same thing, there are people all around the world who also have little sparklers who are making it really tricky for everyone in the house to get the rest they need. So if I had to summarize this whole sleep series in one sentence, it would be this: Your baby is an individual. When we move away from rigid expectations and just start observing the child in front of us, everything shifts. So instead of asking that, why isn't my baby sleeping properly? You start asking, what does my baby need? And that question leads to a lot more responsive and compassionate parenting and a lot less mum guilt or parent guilt. So if you have been listening to this series while you're navigating difficult sleep in your house, I really hope that it's helped you feel a little bit less alone. Sleep, especially in those early years, can be really messy and unpredictable and exhausting. And I hope that understanding some of the different pieces behind it, this is not a comprehensive sleep series. These are the things that have been important in our journey. I hope that understanding those different pieces can make it feel a lot less confusing and a lot less like something that you're failing at. If you've been listening to this series while navigating wonderful sleep, well done, good for you, that's fantastic. I hope it's helped you have a little more compassion for the people around you who might not be experiencing the same type of parenting journey as you. And I hope that, not that I want to knock your confidence, I hope that it can help you refrain from judging another parent's quality of parenting based on their child's sleep. Because I think that other people's judgments and perceptions of yourself as a parent can be make or break as a mother particularly. And if you feel like you're struggling with something and then you feel external judgment, it can make it so much worse. So if you listen to this, even though sleep wasn't an issue for you, I thank you for taking the time to understand what might be going on for the people around you. It's really a good sign that you're someone who is willing to learn about it and hear about it, even if it wasn't relevant to you. And I'm hoping that you'll be able to share this with anyone in your life who might be experiencing poor infant sleep in that first couple of years. So yes, I would really appreciate it if you could share of these episodes with anyone you know struggling with sleep, because I think getting the right information at the right time can make such a big difference to someone's journey as a parent and helping them feel that little bit less alone. There are other people experiencing the same levels of sleep disruption as you, even if you don't know them in real life. And I really want this to be a resource that just exists. It's there on the internet. It will be there forever, where people can find it when they need it. And for people to find it when they need it, it needs to be shared. So I really appreciate you being here and listening. And I would love if you could find one person you know who's gone on a journey like mine and share it with them. I'll talk to you next week. We'll be switching track a little bit, moving away from sleep and more towards sort of some of the toddler parenting strategies that have helped us with tricky things like toothbrushing in our house. I look forward to diving into that with you next week. Bye. Thanks so much for listening to Not Just Theories. I really appreciate you being here. If this episode resonated with you, the best way to support the show is to follow, leave us a rating or review, or just share this episode with someone else who you think might find it comforting or useful. I hope to see you back here soon.